Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Nara Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Dear devotees, welcome for this wonderful class of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Let me just share the screen with you all. Yeah. So, we were on this shloka and we were supposed to start the 24th shloka, right? Yeah. Okay, we just start. Just give me 1 minute. Give me a minute. I'm just trying to formulate something. So this 23rd shloka, a little of explanation is still remaining actually. When we say that this transcendentals are concerned with spiritual body, as such, by the strength of their devotion, service, austerities, mystic power, and transcendental knowledge, their movements are unrestricted within and beyond the material worlds. The fruitive workers or the gross materials can never move in an unrestricted manner. So, he's saying that this Paramatma Yogi, just like we saw in this, the 18th verse, speaks that, and this verse is actually clarifying that who this Virat Roop meditator is and what are his qualifications and what are his convictions and what is his caliber of this Virat Roop meditator. So, Virat Roop meditator yogi. So, this Virat Roop meditator he has mystic power also and he has transcendental knowledge also. So, he's saying that they have a subtle body which can go anywhere and everywhere. So the mystic power, people know they can become smaller than the smallest and larger than the largest. And they do not go to such places because of their karma. So Krishna is saying that abhuva nara loka. So even if somebody might go till Brahma Loka, he still has to come back once his karma span is over there. But this person, this Virat Roop meditator, he will go to all the places, but he will not be kicked out of this place because he has not gone there by his karma. He has gone, he has actually some other qualification, and what is that qualification that he has got is he has got this Vidya Yoga. He's got Vidya Tapo Yoga Samadhi Bhajam. So he has gone there by Vidya, by worshipping the Supreme Lord, and Tapo, by Tapasya, by following, proper Varnashram Dharma, yoga, by, practicing, to enter into these planets. So it's like the currency to enter into these planets, So for him, karma is not the currency. Not everyone who reaches all these planets will be kicked out of that particular place. In this, light of, this Virat Roop meditator, this yogi should be, understood in such a way. So he's not the person who has only, desires for enjoyment. His goal is liberation only. So at the sadhaka stage also, it is, never black and white. While at a paramhamsa stage, so our goal might be, to achieve love of Godhead, but in between, we may have some other desires also, which may really haunt us. So, and the Vedas also acknowledge it, because they understand that people are never black and white. You will never find, out and out karmis, or out and out jnanis, or out and out pure devotees of the Lord. There will always be people in between also. So the Vedas are acknowledging that such devotees will be there, and it provides such a path. And this path is called, the Krama Mukti path, or you can say that it is called the Arji Radhi Marg. So means, a step by step, gradual, mukti they will get. So even in the, Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, this mukti marg is very much stressed. And their writings are also, a lot of it is in written about this mukti marg or the Arji Radhi Marg. Because this Sampradaya has to provide a facility to someone who is not yet pure, but one who is convinced that yes, I want to enjoy. At the same time, I want to attain liberation also. So the Sampradaya has to acknowledge these paths also. So such a Virat Rup meditator, what he does is he travels with his subtle body, because he will need it. So he carries it with him. And Krishna says that this, in the Bhagavad-gītā, in 8th chapter, Krishna says that this path is a fixed path. And it starts with, the planet of Archi, and that is the 13th destination, you can say. So there are many destinations in Brahmaloka. In between, there are some 11 other stops also. So he stops at each of these planets, and each of these planets, indicate a more subtler, enjoyment. So if you see from the grossest to the subtlest, so, the first planet that he stops is the Archi planet, or, can say that as the, as mentioned in the Bhagavatam, the Vaishnavera Loka. And Krishna says that Aham Vaishnavera Bhutva in Bhagavad-gītā 15th chapter, he says. So this digestive fire is also called the Vaishnavera. And the planet of fire is on the level of Swarga. So he goes over there, enjoys there, and says, okay, enough, sufficient. I'm, satisfied. And he says, he gives up that enjoyment and he goes to the next planet, where he gets a more subtler enjoyment. So he enjoys there and says, oh, enough now, I'm sufficient, like fine. And I have to go, my goal is liberation. And gives up that planet and goes to the next planet, where he gets a still more, subtler enjoyment. He enjoys there and gives up that desire, there, and he goes to, Brahmaloka. So not everybody who, wants to achieve liberation goes through this particular path. So for a pure devotee, Krishna is saying that in the 12th chapter, what is that shloka? He says that Tesham aham samurdhata. So for a pure devotee, I personally come and pick him up and take him back home, back to Godhead. So he does not need to travel this particular path of Archi Radhi. He straight goes to the spiritual planet. Now, even if you see in Brihad Bhagavatamrita also, where Gopakumar is also actually, traveling. He travels to Swargaloka, he becomes Indra also, and he is not even satisfied, and he says, enough now. He comes back again. Again, he goes to Janalok, Tapalok, Maharlok. He goes to even Brahmalok. He reaches even Vaikuntha Lok also. But still, he's not satisfied. Because why? He's originally from Golok Vrindavan. And because he's hankering, because he's a friend of Krishna, he's hankering for that friendship of Krishna, what he has, enjoyed with Krishna before. So he's not satisfied. But only when he reaches, to the spiritual world, he reaches Golok, he's satisfied over there. The moment he sees Krishna, it's a very nice incident actually in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So Gopkumar has reached Golok Vrindavan, and Krishna has gone to tend the cows. I don't know how many of you know this particular story, but it's a very interesting story. And Krishna has gone to tend the cows, and Mother Yashoda is doing her own household, household, activities. And Gopkumar comes, and Mother Yashoda is very casual. Oh, Gopkumar, you came, come, sit, have something. So Gopkumar is saying, no, I will not have anything till Krishna comes back. Because Gopkumar knows that this is time for Krishna to tend the cows. And he's gone. So he's waiting. So till Krishna comes, he does not eat or drink anything. And Mother Yashoda is insisting, eat something, you've come, please. So see, in the spiritual world, we have a designated position. And there is a still vacancy in the spiritual world. Now, that post position is not overtaken by anybody. In a material world, one kursi khali, so another chair, that chair gets filled up. But no, in the spiritual world, a particular living entity's, vacancy is still vacant over there. It's not filled up because that post position belongs to that particular living entity only. So Mother Yashoda is, saying, you eat something. She says, no. And then in the evening, Krishna is coming. He's, on his flute, and, Gopkumar is hearing the flute, and he's very eager. He's also, moving towards Krishna, and Krishna also sees Gopkumar. From very far, he sees Gopkumar. And Krishna is also very happy. Krishna is running from there, and Gopkumar is running from here. And both actually meet each other. And both are, very much happy seeing each other. And both are crying also. So if you see, this is actually the picture where Krishna is meeting Gopkumar. And both are meeting each other. So Krishna is profusely crying. Gopkumar is also profusely crying. And, Krishna is slapping Gopkumar. Why did it take so long for you to come in the spiritual world? And Gopkumar is, slapping Krishna that why did you call me so late into the spiritual world? It's all your fault. Why did you send me only from the spiritual world? So it's a very wonderful, meeting between Gopkumar and Krishna, where both are, profusely crying, and both are, enjoying in the company of each other. So this is the explanation for the 23rd. Let's move to the 24th shloka. So now this is Vaishnavi, this is what I have explained already, but we'll just see. Vaishvanaram yati vihayasya gata sushumanya brahmana pathena soshisha vidhuta kalpo atha harer udastat prayati charam nripa se shumaram. Lakshmi Narayan Prabhu, please do the honors of reading the translation and purport both.
Translation. O King, when such a mystic passes over the Milky Way by the illuminating Sushma to reach the highest planet, Brahmaloka, he goes first to Vaishvanara, the planet of the deity of fire, wherein he becomes completely cleansed of all contaminations, and thereafter he still goes higher to the circle of Shishumara to relate with Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Purport: the polar star of the universe and the circle thereof is called Shishumara circle, and therein the local residential planet of the personality of Godhead, Shri Vishnu, is situated. Before reaching there, the mystic passes over the Milky Way to reach Brahmaloka, and while going there, he first reaches Vaishvarna Loka, Vaishvanara Loka, where the demigod controls fire. On Vaishvanara Loka, the yogi becomes completely cleansed of all dirty sins acquired while in contact with the material world. The Milky Way in the sky is indicated herein as the way leading to Brahmaloka, the highest planet of the universe. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So we'll go to the next. So, now these all few verses, like till 27th, will describe all these various stops this yogi is traveling. What are the different stops this yogi will have, So over here, he's having, he's gone to Vaishnavara planet. Now let's see which stop he's making. Tad Vishwanabhim Tvav Ativartaya Vishnur Ani Yasya Virajjenatmaneka Namaskrutam Brahmavidam Upayati Kalpayusho Yad Vibudharamante. Swati Mataji, please read this translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
This Shishumara is the pivot of for the turning of the complete universe, and it is called the navel of Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu. The yogi alone goes beyond the circle of Shishumara and attends the planet Maharloka, where purified saints like Bhrugu enjoy the duration of life of for 40. Hare Krishna Mataji.
What you saying this word, Mataji?
Shishumara.
Yeah, Shishumara it is. Yeah.
Shishumara and attends the planet Maharloka, where purified saints like Bhrugu enjoy the duration of life of 43 crores Mataji it is.
Yeah.
Four solar years. The planet is worshipable even for saints who are transcendentally situated.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Dandavat Pranam.
Atho anantasya mukha nalena dadha. Sorry. Dandha ha manasa nirikshaya vikshama niryati siddheshwara yudsa dishnyama yatvai paradhyam tat tu parameshthayam. Anup Prabhu, please read the translation and purport both.
Translation. At the time of the final devastation of the complete universe, the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta, from the bottom of the universe. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes, and thus he leaves for Satyalok by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyalok is calculated to be 15,480,000,000,000 years. Purport. It is indicated herein that the residents of Mahalok, where the purified living entities or demigods possess a duration of life calculated to be 4.3 billion solar years, have airships by which they reach Satyalok, the topmost planet of the universe. In other words, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam gives us many clues about other planets far, far away from us, which modern planes and spacecraft cannot reach even by imaginary speeds. The statements of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are accepted by great acharyas like Sridhar Swami, Ramanujacharya, and Vallabhacharya. Lord Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu specifically accepts Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as the spotless Vedic authority, and as such, no sane man can ignore the statements of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam when it is spoken by the self-realized soul, Srila Shukadev Goswami, who follows in the footsteps of his great father, Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of all Vedic literatures. In the creation of the Lord, there are so many wonderful things we can see with our own eyes every day and night, but we are unable to reach them equipped by modern materialistic science. We should not, therefore, depend on the fragmentary authority of materialistic science for knowing things beyond the range of scientific purview. For a common man, both modern science and Vedic wisdom are simply to be accepted because none of the statements either of modern science or of Vedic literature can be verified by him. The alternative for a common man is to believe either of them or both of them. The Vedic way of understanding, however, is more authentic because it has been accepted by the acharyas, who are not only faithful and learned men, but also liberated souls without any of the flaws of conditioned souls. The modern scientists, however, are conditioned souls liable to so many errors and mistakes. Therefore, the safe side is to accept the authentic version of Vedic literatures like Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is accepted unanimously by the great acharyas.
So see, from the Shishumar planet, he is going to Maharloka. From Maharloka, this yogi is going to Satyaloka in this particular, shloka. So there is a very detailed explanation about this Shishumara, which is the pivot for the turning of this complete universe. Pivot means we know, the main pivot, through which it is, and it is called this navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So, in the fifth canto also, when we'll be reading the fifth canto, that there is a special chapter dedicated to this Shishumar planetary systems, where it is describing that how all the planetary systems, they take shelter of this pole star called Dhruva, and it also says that the totality of all these planetary systems will be actually Shishumar, and all the even expansions of these all planets are the expansions of the external body of the Supreme Lord. So if you see Dhruv Loka, the abode of Lord Vishnu within this particular universe is actually many yojanas from these 7 stars, and even the planetary system of this Dhruva Loka are the planes of fire god Indra, Prajapati, Kashyapa, and Dharma. So they are also very respectful to Dhruv, who is actually lives on the pole star. So those who are worshipping this Virat Roop, the universal form of the Lord, they conceive of this entire rotating system of planes as an animal known as Shishumara. So that is why this imaginary Shishumara is another form of the Lord. So the head of the Shishumara form is downwards and the body appears like that of a coiled snake. I have a diagram somewhere. I will send it on the WhatsApp group. And on the end of its tail is actually Dhruvaloka. On the body of this tail, you know, are Prajapatis, Agni, Indra, Dharma. And on the root of this particular tail is, you know, Dhata and Vidhata. And it's a very good description that on his waist there are 7 sages, and his entire body of Shishupala, Shishumara, faces towards its right, and it appears like, you know, a coil of stars. So on its right side, you know, there are some stars. On his left side, there are some stars. On the left hip, there are you know, some stars. On his right hip, there are some stars, and there are some fixed stars also, which you know, on different sides, which do not change. So this yogi, to concentrate, you know, on the minds, this yogi is worshipping this Shishumara planet system, which is actually known, you can say, technically known as the Kundalini Chakra. So he's meditating on that. So this whole 5th chapter, that is, you know, in the 5th canto, there is one of these chapters which has been dedicated. I think it is 22nd or 23rd chapter. I'm not sure about the chapter. So let's go ahead. So this is all a technical, you know, chapters are there, but even if we are good to go to the spiritual world. Na yatra shoko na jara na mrityu na tir na cho vega rite kutaschit yaschit tatho adha kripaya nidam vidam duranta dukha prabhavanu darshanat. Priyanka, this is a long translation and a long purport. Please read it.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Translation. In that planet of Satyalok, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind, and therefore there are no anxieties, save that sometimes, due to consciousness, there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. Purport. Foolish men of materialistic temperament do not take advantage of successive authorized knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is authorized and is acquired not by experiment, but by authentic statements of the Vedic literatures explained by bona fide authorities. Simply by becoming an academic scholar, one cannot understand the Vedic statements. One has to approach the real authority who has received the Vedic knowledge by disciplic succession, as clearly explained in the Bhagavad-gītā 4.2. Lord Krishna affirmed that the system of knowledge, as explained in the Bhagavad-gītā, was explained to the sun god, and the knowledge is descended by the disciplic succession from the sun god to his son Manu, and from Manu to King Ishwaku, the forefather of Lord Ramachandra, and thus the system of knowledge was explained down the line of great sages, one after another. But in due course of time, the authorized succession was broken, and therefore, just to re-establish the true spirit of the knowledge, the Lord again explained the same knowledge to Arjuna, who was a bona fide candidate for understanding due to his being a pure devotee of the Lord. Bhagavad-gītā, as it was understood by Arjuna, is also...
Yeah, just a second. Explained.
Is also explained. Bhagavad-gītā 10.12 to 13. But there are many foolish men who do not follow in the footsteps of Arjuna in understanding the spirit of Bhagavad-gītā. They create instead their own interpretations, which are as foolish as they themselves, and thereby only help to put a stumbling block on the path of real understanding, misdirecting the innocent followers who are less intelligent or the Shudras. It is said that one should become a Brahmana before one can understand the Vedic statements, and this stricture is as important as the stricture that no one shall become a lawyer who has not qualified himself as a graduate. Such a stricture is not an impediment in the path of progress for anyone and everyone, but it is necessary for an unqualified understanding of a particular science. Vedic knowledge is misinterpreted by those who are not qualified Brahmanas. A qualified Brahmana is one who has a qualified Brahmana is one who has undergone strict training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. The Vedic wisdom guides us to understanding our relation with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and to acting accordingly in order to achieve the desired result of returning home back to God. But materialistic men do not understand this. They want to make a plan to become happy in a place where there is no happiness. For false happiness, they try to reach other planets either by Vedic rituals or by spacecraft, but they should know for certain that any amount of materialistic adjustment for becoming happy in a place which is meant for distress cannot benefit the misguided man, because, after all, the whole universe with all its paraphernalia will come to an end after a certain period. Then all plans of materialistic happiness will automatically come to an end. The intelligent person, therefore, makes a plan to return. The intelligent person, therefore, makes a plan to return home back to Godhead. Such an intelligent person surpasses all the pangs of material existence, like birth, death, disease, and old age. He is actually happy because he has no anxieties of material existence, but as a compassionate sympathizer, he feels unhappiness for the suffering of the materialistic men, and thus he occasionally comes before the materialistic men to teach them the necessity of going back to Godhead. All the bona fide acharyas preach this truth of returning home back to Godhead and warn men not to make a false plan for happiness in a place where happiness is only a myth. Thank you.
Yeah. So this world is dukkhalem ashashvatam. So how is it possible that you will get sukha? So this particular yogi, while in Brahmaloka, he has two options. Either he can choose to stay in Brahmaloka if he desires to stay until the end of Brahma's life, then he attains, liberation at that time, like with Brahma. But if he desires liberation before that, he is piercing the 7 coverings of the universe, and he enters the Supreme Brahman, the Adipurusha. So what are these seven coverings? Actually, these 7 coverings are nothing but the first covering is the earth, second is the water, the third covering is the fire, the fourth covering is the air, the fifth covering is the sky, the sixth covering is the total material energy, and the 7th covering is the false ego. So what is he doing? So see, we have this one universe, and this universe has, coverings, the layers it has. So if somebody wants to travel from this universe, he has to pierce these 7 coverings, or you can say 7 layers, and then he can, reach out. So in this particular shloka is saying that what is the nature of Brahmaloka. So relatively, they have a very longer span in the Brahmaloka, because that's the nature of Brahmaloka. And what is, there in Brahmaloka, he's saying that na mrityu, there is no death. And what is there? No artihi. There are no pains, no fears, udvega, no anxieties. And and then he's saying that when they see that there are duranta dukha means, misery and suffering, and also when they see that there is unsurmountable suffering of the denizens of the earth planet, they feel very compassionate, and that is only their suffering of these people in the Brahmaloka. Let's go to the next. Tato vishesham pratipadya nirbhayas tenatmanapi anala murtir atvaran jyotirmayo vayumupetya kale vayatmanakham brihad atmalingam. Vrinda, please read this translation and purport both.
Translation. After reaching Satyaloka, the devotee is specifically able to be incorporated fearlessly by the subtle body in an identity similar to that of the gross body. And one after another, he gradually attains stages of existence from earthly to watery to fiery to glowing and airy until he reaches the ethereal stage. Purport. Anyone who can
Yeah.
Anyone who can reach Brahmaloka or Satyaloka by dint of spiritual perfection and practice is qualified to attain three different types of perfection. One who has attained a specific planet by dint of pious activities attains places in terms of his comparative pious activities. One who has attained the place by dint of Virat or Hiranyagarbha worship is liberated among with the liberation of Brahma. But one who attains the place by dint of devotional service is specifically mentioned here in relation to how he can penetrate into the different coverings of the universes and thus ultimately disclose his spiritual identity in the absolute atmosphere of supreme existence. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, all the universes are clustered together up and down, and each and every one of them is separately sevenfold covered. The watery portion is beyond the sevenfold coverings, and each covering is 10 times more expansive than the previous covering. The personality of Godhead who creates all such universes by his breathing period lies above the cluster of the universes. The water of the casual ocean is differently situated than the covering water of the universe. The water that serves as covering for the universe is material, whereas the water of the casual ocean is spiritual. As such, the watery covering mentioned herein is considered to be the false egoistic covering of all living entities, and the gradual process of liberation from the material coverings, one after another, as mentioned herein, is the gradual process of being liberated from false egoistic conceptions of the material gross body, and then being absorbed in the identification of the subtle body till the attainment of the pure spiritual body in the absolute realm of the kingdom of God. Srila Sridhara Swami confirms that a part of the material nature after being initiated by the Lord is known as the Mahat Tattva. A fractional portion of the Mahat Tattva is called the false ego. A portion of the ego is the vibration of sound, and a portion of sound is atmospheric air. A portion of the airy atmosphere is turned into forms, and the forms constitute the power of electricity or heat. Heat produces the smell of the aroma of the earth, and the gross earth is produced by such aroma. And all these combined together constitute the cosmic phenomenon. The extent of the cosmic phenomenon is calculated to be diametrically both ways 4 billion miles. Then the coverings of the universe begin. The first stratum, stratum of the covering is calculated to extend 80 million miles, and the subsequent covering of the universe are respectively of fire, effulgence, air, and ether, one after another, each extending 10 times further than the previous. The fearless devotees of the Lord penetrates each one of them and ultimately reaches the absolute atmosphere where everything is of one and the same spiritual identity. Then the devotee enters one of the Vaikuntha planets, where he assumes exactly the same form as the Lord and engages in the loving transcendental service of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of devotional life. Beyond this, there is nothing to be desired or achieved by the perfect yogi. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, such a wonderful thing. This is a very nice shloka. So, if he does not wait or stay till the end of Brahma's life, then he successfully passes through the layers of this earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And then thus he passes through the 5 sense objects also and the 5 sense organs also. And then he pierces this layer of false ego, Mahat Tattva, and Pradhana. And after leaving this Brahmaloka, then he reaches the layer of earth, where he gets another earthly body, body made up of perfectly of earth. Now that earth is not our earth, but is the covering called earth. Okay, so that he can perfectly enjoy the sense of smell over there. He enjoys it and he says, okay, no more, I don't want to experience this form of sense gratification. And so he gives up that desire, and to enjoy he leaves the body and he comes to the layer of water. Then he gets a watery body over there, and then he enjoys the sense of taste, because when Krishna says no in the Bhagavad-gītā, I am the taste in water. So then the sense of taste, and there also he gives up and he goes to the next layer of fire, where he gets a fiery body and he enjoys the sense of foam. Then he goes further and he goes further to air, then to ether, and so he's now quite purified, but he still has his material mind, material senses, material intelligence also, and all of which he received from this material ahankar, ego. So when Karnodakshay Vishnu, when he's going to Karnodakshay Vishnu, when he glances at this Pradhan, so this Pradhan then produces Mahat Tattva. It's exactly like, like this Pradhan is actually sleeping in a dormant state. And as soon as, Krishna glances on this Pradhan, everything comes to life. So then this Pradhan, then he produces Mahat Tattva, and then this Mahat Tattva transforms into Ahankar, which again produces, 3 energies of the Lord. And it again extends till, ether, where he enjoys the sense of smell. And now when this living entity is going back, it does exactly opposite. So for example, when you want to go to a place where they make kartals, so if you want to go to that, you can say, what is that word called, foundry or a factory, you can say. And in the first gate they say that who are you, and then you present your letter, and you say that I need permission to take a look at this particular foundry. So how does it function? And then the gatekeeper looks at the letter and says, okay, here is your ID card. So he takes this ID card and he goes to the second gate. And he shows this ID card and says that I want to take a look at the foundry. So they say that you can't go like this. You have to wear, those typical boots and, costumes. So they give you some boots also to wear. And those, and, you go with those boots and you go ahead, and then comes another third gate. He says that you are going to see a molten iron. So you have to wear goggles. As it is, not safe for the eyes, you need to wear goggles. So you wear those goggles also given by them, and go and take a look at that particular foundry. And when you come back to the third gate first, right? To give the goggles back. And in the second gate, you deposit the gum boots back. And then finally, you come to the first gate, you deposit your iCard back. So this path of this, Krama Mukti is described here, the exact opposite path of creation. So when you say creation happens in one krama, or, in one order, and liberation happens the exactly opposite. So he deposits everything. So he says that, Sattvic Ahankar, I took this mind from you. I don't need it. I deposit back to you. Or Rajasic Ahankar, I took intelligence from you. So take it back. The senses, the karmendriya, the jnanendriyas, you please take it back. And then he deposits his ahankar into the Mahatattva, and Mahatattva into the Pradhan. And then, this merger in the Brahma Jyoti happens. So it is described more in the, subsequent verses. We'll just see that. Sorry. घ्राणेन गंध रसनेन वैरस रूप च दृष्टया ध्वंसन त्वचैव श्रोत्रेण चोपेत्य नभो गुणत्व प्राणेन चाकृतिम उपैति योगी. Yeah, Anuprabhu, please read this translation and purport both.
Translation. The devotee thus surpasses the subtle objects of different senses, like aroma by smelling, the palate by tasting, vision by seeing forms, touch by contacting, the vibrations of the ear by ethereal identification, and the sense organs by material activities. Purport. Beyond the sky, there are subtle coverings, resembling the elementary coverings of the universes. The gross coverings are a development of partial ingredients of the subtle causes. So, the yogi or devotee, along with liquidation of the gross elements, relinquishes the subtle causes like aroma by smelling, the pure spiritual spark, the living entity, thus becomes completely cleansed of all material contamination to become eligible for entrance into the kingdom of God.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So we have another shloka. 30th or 30th purport is very long. Sabhut sukshemandriya sannikarsham manomayam devamayam vikarayam samsadhya gataya sahatena yati vijnana tattvam saguna sannirodham. Prabhuji, please read the translation and the purport, Lakshminarayan Prabhu. So Prabhuji, we are also again starting with you and ending with you only. We are also going backwards. Like
Hare
how
Krishna.
we are also depositing everything into the Pradhan back again. So you started, and after you, immediately His Grace Anup Prabhu also started. So we are going backwards. Yeah, please read Prabhuji.
Okay.
Achit
Hare
Slok.
Krishna. Translation. The devotee, thus surpassing the gross and the subtle forms of coverings, enters the plane of egoism, and in that state, he merges the material modes of nature, ignorance, and passion in this point of neutralization, and thus reaches egoism in goodness. After this, all egoism is merged in the Mahat Tattva, and he comes to the point of pure self-realization. Purport: pure self-realization, as we have several times discussed, is the pure consciousness of admitting oneself to be the eternal servant of the Lord. Thus, one is reinstated in his original position of transcendental loving service to the Lord, as will be clearly explained in the following verse. This stage of rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord without any hopes of emolument from the Lord or any other way can be attained when the material senses are purified and the original pure state of the senses is revived. It is suggested herein that the process of purifying the senses is by the yogic way, namely the gross senses are merged in the mode of ignorance and the subtle senses are merged in the mode of passion. The mind belongs to the mode of goodness and therefore is called Devamaya or godly. Perfect purification of the mind is made possible when one is fixed in the conviction of being the eternal servant of the Lord. Therefore, simple attainment of goodness is also a material mode. One has to surpass this stage of material goodness and reach the point of purified goodness or Vasudeva Sattva. Is it Tattva, Mataji, or Sattva? Vasudeva Sattva.
Sattva. Though they
This,
write A and we've been pronouncing it A, but it is A only, because when there is a slash above the A, then it is A. Otherwise, it is Sattva only, Prabhu. Okay?
okay.
Yeah.
Vasudeva Sattva. This Vasudeva Sattva helps one to enter into the kingdom of God. We may also remember in this connection that the process of gradual emancipation by the devotees in the manner mentioned above, although authoritative, is not viable in the present able because of people's being primarily unaware of yoga practice. The so-called yoga practice by the professional protagonists may be physiologically
You pronounced it correctly. Protagonist, yeah.
physiologically beneficial, but such small successes cannot help one in the attainment of spiritual emancipation as mentioned herein. 5,000 years ago, when the social status of human society was in perfect Vedic order, the yoga process mentioned herein was a common affair for everyone because everyone, and especially the Brahmana and Kshatriya, was trained in the transcendental art under the care of spiritual master, far away from home, in the status of Brahmacharya. Modern man, however, is incompetent to understand it perfectly. Lord Śrī Caitanya therefore made it easier for the prospective devotee of the present age in the following specific manner. Ultimately, there is no difference in the result. The first and the foremost point is that one must understand the prime importance of Bhakti Yoga. The living beings in different species of life are undergoing different terms of engagement according to their fruitive actions and reactions. But in the execution of different activities, one who secures some resources in Bhakti Yoga can understand the importance of service to the Lord through the causeless mercy of the Lord, as well as that of the spiritual master. A sincere soul is helped by the Lord through meeting a bona fide spiritual master, the representative of the Lord. By the instruction of such a spiritual master, one gets the seed of Bhakti Yoga. Lord Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu recommends that the devotee sow the seed of Bhakti Yoga in his heart and nurture it by the watering of hearing and chanting the holy name, fame, etc. of the Lord. The simple process of offenselessly chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord will gradually promote one very soon to the stage of emancipation. There are three stages in chanting the holy name of the Lord. The first stage is offensive chanting of the holy name, and the second is the reflective stage of chanting the holy name. The third stage is the offenseless chanting of the holy name of the Lord. In the second stage only, the stage of reflection between the offensive and the offenseless stages, one automatically attains the stage of emancipation. And in the offenseless stage, one actually enters into the kingdom of God. Although physically he may apparently be within the material world, to obtain the offenseless stage, one must be on guard in the following manner. When we speak of hearing and chanting, it means that not only should one chant and hear the holy name of the Lord as Rama, Krishna, or systematically the 16 names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But one should also read and hear the Bhagavad-gītā and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the association of devotees. The primary practice of Bhakti Yoga will cause the seed already sowed in the heart to sprout, and by a regular watering process. As mentioned above, the Bhakti Yoga creeper will begin to grow. By systematic nurturing, the creeper will grow to such an extent that it will penetrate the coverings of the universe, as we have heard in the previous verses, reach the effulgent sky, the Brahmajyoti, and go further and farther and reach the spiritual sky, where there are innumerable spiritual planets called Vaikuntha Lokas. Above all of them is Kṛṣṇa Loka or Goloka Vrindavana, wherein the growing creeper enters and takes repose at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, the original personality of Godhead. When one reaches the lotus feet of Lord Krishna at Goloka Vrindavana, the watering process of hearing and reading, as also chanting of the holy name in the pure devotional stage, fructifies, and the fruits grown there in the form of love of God are tangibly tasted by the devotee, even though he is here in this material world. The ripe fruits of love of God are relished only by the devotees constantly engaged in the watering process as described above. But the working devotee must always be mindful so that the creeper which has so grown will not be cut off. Therefore, he should be mindful of the following consideration. First one, offense by one at the feet of a pure devotee may be likened to the mad elephant who devastates a very good garden if it enters. Second one must be very careful to guard himself against such offenses at the feet of few devotees, just as one protects a creeper by all around fencing. Third one, it so happens that by the watering process, some weeds are also grown, and unless such weeds are uprooted, the nurturing of the main creeper or the creeper of Bhakti Yoga may be hampered. Fourth one, actually these weeds are material enjoyment, merging of the self in the absolute without separate individuality, and may other desires in the field of religion, economic development, sense enjoyment, and emancipation. Fifth one, there are many other weeds like disobedience to the tenets of the revered scriptures, unnecessary engagements, killing animals, and hankering after material gain, prestige, and adoration. Sixth one, if sufficient care is not taken, then the watering process may only help to breed the weeds, stunting the healthy growth of the main creeper and resulting in no fructification of the ultimate requirement, love of God. Seventh one, the devotee must therefore be very careful to uproot the different weeds in the very beginning. Only then will the healthy growth of main creeper not be stunted. Eighth one, and by so doing, the devotee is able to relish the fruit of love of God and thus live practically with Lord Krishna, even in this life, and be able to see the Lord in every step. The highest perfection of life is to enjoy life constantly in the association of the Lord, and one who can relish this does not aspire after any temporary enjoyment of the material world via other media. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So very nice purport. See, sometimes Prabhupada, when he's writing these purports, how at so many places he's writing elaborate purports. He is he's not considering that look, let me just finish it off. No, he's writing in details all these purports, and these purports are his ecstasies. So for now, he's writing chanting about the whole thing. He wrote about chanting, and he wrote about offenses also. So wonderful these purports are. So we'll meet tomorrow, dear devotees. I'll be there personally tomorrow. Generally Tuesdays I have some services, but tomorrow I won't be going for those services, and I'll be personally present tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining in. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you for your sincerity in reading the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.